What you doing?
Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. Bye, singing dog. Bye, goal.
I pronounce you.
Bye, wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really?
Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hey kids, I almost forgot what day it was. It's pretty pathetic, isn't it? That must be a sign that I'm either too busy or too tired. And nonetheless, here we are on our Friday, miserable. I'm not sure what your corner of the world looks like, but I'm here to tell you that it's rainy and yucky, and it's just a rainy and yucky day. So very excited to be hosting my guest day, which is, of course, none other than, I can talk today, Stephen Nagy. And I hope I didn't say that wrong, N-A-G-Y. Very, very excited. Many, many questions. Really pumped to do this. Before I bring him on air, I want to mention just a couple of events that are going on that I promised my friends that I would promote. Tomorrow, of course, being October 1st, the 9th Annual Friends of St. Jude's Miami Signature event is going on. Going to be at 7:30 tomorrow evening, and that's at JW Marriott Marquis Hotel. Of course, that's located in Miami, Florida. Now, this, of course, is to prevent, or I should say help with research and development for finding a cure for childhood cancer. For more information on the event, www.stjude.org. My dear friend from the Real Housewives of Miami, Ana Quinquesos, will be in participation tomorrow. And last I checked, I believe seats are $150 per ticket. But as I said, go to www.stjude.org for further details. My dear friend, Paolo Culo, is going to be playing this evening at the Olympian Cafe tonight from 10 to 12 in Hoboken, New Jersey. He is dedicating his concert this evening, of course, to those of you that don't know, there was a horrific train accident that occurred in Hoboken, New Jersey. So let me just say personally, because some of my dearest friends are located in New York and New Jersey, I hope that all of you are well. Those that have not checked in, please go ahead and support Paolo's efforts to this evening in Hoboken. Also this evening, do not want to forget my top 3 live musicians, and then we will get on to my show with Stephen. Barley Pop Pub tonight from 8 to 11:30. Chris Crow tonight at 9 o'clock. Big Wheel Band is playing at Moe's downtown in Milwaukee here. And Generation Gap in Menominee Falls at Allie's Bistro this evening. So please, 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 we all know that I'm a huge proponent for live music. Make sure you go ahead and check them out. So without further ado and keeping Stephen any longer, let's get him on our show and begin. Hi,
hey,
Stephen.
How's it going?
It's going. Let's talk.
Oh, yeah. It is Nagy, though. You give me the Hungarian version, but that's okay because I am Hungarian.
I'm so sorry about that. See, a lot of times I don't like saying other people's last name because then I feel like an ass because I'm like, how do you pronounce that again? Because you never know. I mean, it's just Nagy, folks. That's his actual spelling of his last name. So I'm like, okay, am I going to get this right or am I going to get this wrong? So, look, shocker, I got it wrong. Okay.
Well, actually,
right.
when I was coming on, there's if we were going to talk about acting and stuff and how in depth the conversation got, there's a couple actors that I look up to, and I don't know if I'm going to say their name right either. so
really?
I don't feel
Seriously?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so you don't feel so bad now.
No, I don't feel so bad now.
Okay. Got it. Okay, good. Well, thank you. First of all, first and foremost, thank you so much for making the time to come on the show. I've been creeping on you and looking at you and all that good stuff, and I have a bunch of information about you that most of my followers probably don't know. So I'm really excited to expose my world to your world, basically.
Okay.
So we're going to kind of go around all over the place. First of all, I have to ask this question because it's so ironic because I watched you because you sent a clip where you're doing this little shout out or imitating, I should say, Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon, for those of you that don't know, of course, runs that big mogul business, WWE, which all of my kids love. We've been watching for years. So I want to talk. It almost seems like he's inspirational to you because you seem to kind of do projects and pick up things that inspire you or that you're motivated by. So talk to me about why WWE? You know, because some grown-ups are still like all WWE. So it's funny when I watched you. So talk to me about that relationship you have.
Well, actually, I'm in my early 40s, so when I first started watching the WWE, it was actually called the WWF. And, yeah, it was. Well, even before that, in the 70s, it was called the WWWF, the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, and then they shortened it, I think in the early 80s, to the World Wrestling Federation, and then they changed it to what it is now, WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment. But see, the thing I always tell people now is I was kind of a wrestling fan when it was like, quote unquote, like not too cool to be a wrestling fan. Like
Sure.
you sort of had to say like, yeah, I watch professional wrestling, and this, and now everybody like is into it for how great Vince McMahon made it. But yeah, I mean, it's like the typical story because my father was watching it, and then I started getting into it. And in the '80s was really a pivotal time because that's when Hulk Hogan started becoming, probably the most recognizable wrestler. I think The Rock
Right.
is probably now, like if you say to people and they don't know anything about wrestling, they say name a wrestler, they'll probably say The Rock first. But for a long
Right.
time it was Hulk Hogan, and it
Okay.
was between him and Vince McMahon's vision to make wrestling
Right.
a global phenomenon, and they started WrestleMania in '85, March 31st, 1985. That was the first one, and what it is today is just astronomical. But I
Right.
always liked the guys that could talk. I mean, I wasn't a wrestler, in high school, or I was a baseball player and I played some basketball, but I never was a wrestler. But I always liked the guys who could talk and who could talk smack. And
Sure.
one of my favorite guys, who actually just passed away, I think about a year ago, was Roddy Piper.
Oh,
And-
yeah.
and-
I remember him.
And if people don't know who he is, and you want to see some good wrestling talk, you just go to YouTube, and he had a segment called Piper's Pit, and it was just legendary. And after that, when I started getting to the early '90s, then I really liked The Undertaker.
Oh,
When he
I love
came
him.
in. Oh yeah, but I really liked him when he was like the bad guy, the mysterious guy who didn't talk.
Mhm.
And he was
Right.
he was with Paul Bearer, and
Oh,
Paul
yeah.
Bearer was
Who
like,
passed away, too.
yeah, he passed away a couple years ago
Mhm.
too.
Right, right.
And then after that, I mean, I just kept on watching, and I think the best era of wrestling was from the mid '90s to the beginning of 2000, when they had the Attitude Era, when they had Shawn Michaels and Bret the Hitman
Right.
Hart were going
Right.
at it, because what you saw there, you saw something that you really didn't see before, because in wrestling you used to have like bad guys, which they call heels, and then the good guys, which they call the baby faces. But at that time it was more like America and Canada were fighting, because when they had Raw as War, which is their biggest weekly show that they still have, and when they would have it in Canada, Bret Hart would be the guy who everybody would be cheering about, and Shawn Michaels would be the heel. But when they had it in America,
Sure.
it would be the total opposite. It would be Shawn Michaels
Right.
would be the hero, and everybody would boo Bret Hart. And after that, it's just taken off, and it's just amazing these wrestlers that they have now, that they can do this. I mean, I remember I think it was Mankind, who was Mick Foley, and the
Right.
Undertaker, and they had a match. They had a cage match, a Hell in a Cell match, and
Okay.
well, Mick Foley went off the cage, and he went to crash into the table. He hopped 20 feet off, and now you got these guys doing this normally, and I mean, that's one thing like I could never do, because I'm afraid of heights. I'm not afraid of many things, but I'm afraid of heights.
Sure.
But I like the guys that could really talk, and Vince McMahon is just a genius when it comes to development of new wrestlers, and the passion for the business he has, and also his work ethic is something that is very inspirational to me, that helped me to use it in my pursuit to become an actor.
Gotcha. I was just going to say to you, that's my next question, because obviously, of course, he utilizes – I want you to talk about this, because this has often been a point of contention with some people, where they're like, I don't know why people watch this, because it's nothing but choreographed crap and da-da-da-da-da, and there's no legitimacy to their physicality, et cetera. And obviously now you're in the acting world as well. So maybe you could talk to us a little bit about that, meaning obviously, of course, there is some choreographed stuff that goes on there, and obviously there is some acting that's involved, but nonetheless, there is some component in each one of these people where they're acting but bringing part of themselves into that role now, aren't they? And of course, obviously, they have to be physically fit to do this.
Yeah, well, I mean, even more so now than even back then. I mean, you see the physique in these guys, and the really phenomenal part is, back when I first started watching it, I mean, if you were like a really big guy, like say, Andre the Giant or somebody like that, I mean, you didn't really do any like aerial moves or anything, or jump off the top rope. But you got these guys now that they're big, and like the Big Show or stuff, and they're jumping off the top rope, and they're 450 pounds. So I think today it's a little harder to become a wrestler, in the main attraction, because I think you have to do a little bit more because there's such competition and whatnot.
Correct.
And so it's that, and then that's why they've been sustained so long, because it keeps on getting better and better with their different storylines and the different wrestlers that they have in there.
Correct. I would agree 150%. Now, have you met him? I was curious about that. Like, have you actually?
No, I never met him, but I never actually met him, but I did. I went to a Raw's War in August of '97 in Atlantic City at the convention center, at the old convention center.
Okay.
And this was only like an 8,000 seat thing, and I had seats in the first level. So what you can do is when the wrestlers were coming out, you could go right up to the edge you can, and his table was right there. So I was standing like probably 10 yards from him.
Oh my
but
God,
yeah, I never
cool.
actually got to met. Oh, I was in awe, and then the bouncer came over and he says, you got to go back to your seat, and
right.
I had to go back because the bouncer is bigger than me,
And you're all like, oh my God, I'm like 10 feet away from my hero, and this is so awesome, right? I know what you're talking about. It's an amazing. He's really built quite the organization, and I have to give him props, even though people pick on that per se, or the franchise, and they say this, that, or the other thing. He's a suave businessman. He knows what sells. He knows how to market. He knows how to do his business, and he's been in business for a significant amount of time.
Well, see, another thing that really impressed me too was, when they had the Attitude Era, they were in competition with another organization that Ted Turner owned, World Championship Wrestling, WCW, and WCW was actually winning the ratings battle for about 2 years. Every week they were beating the WWE, and what Vince McMahon did that even made him more of a genius is he actually became his own character, and he went into the ring and he was fighting in matches, because mostly he was just like the announce guy. And then he actually got in the ring, and he had that big feud with my personal favorite wrestler of all time, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and that was the highlight to me of the best era, the best 5-year period, I believe, in professional wrestling.
Oh, sure, definitely, and obviously, of course. So that brings to mind the next question, which is this. One of the reasons, and I'm going to guess this, so this is my question to you, is one of the reasons that you entered into entertainment is because of the fact that obviously one of the people that you idolize, not only can you market yourself, you can market a product well by being an actor, but more importantly, I noticed that you're a huge backer and supporter, not only on your Facebook page, but on your personal page, of actresses, models, other like-minded entertainers. So I guess it begs to ask the question, you've been in entertainment starting in June of 2015. Tell us a little bit about how you got into this industry and what intrigues you about being in it.
Well, I started being an author. I started to be a writer because I could write good in school, but I never, really thought about pursuing that. And then I wrote my Dallas Cowboy book, and I started showing it to people, and people were listening. And actually, I was really trying to get into radio. Was the first thing, sports radio, but it's really tough to get into that field. And I just kept on meeting people. I actually did a cancer awareness article with a supermodel, Christy Bella Joyner, a couple of years ago, and then I wrote a little blog for Carol Alt, who was a great supermodel as well.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then you just start meeting people. I did these YouTubes that I have up there. I did them for fun because I like doing that. So once I got people to talk to me that were in the industry, then they seemed friendly. So I showed them these videos, and for the most part, they seemed to like them. So that just encouraged me more to have more confidence to go out and talk to other people, and it kind of actually happened by accident because
really?
I mean, if I looked at my life, when I was like 19 or 20, I have a degree in mathematical science, and I used to be a math teacher, and I could probably still do calculus 4, but I was probably supposed to be a math teacher. That was my destiny, or a math professor, but like a lot of these actors I'm starting to find out about is a lot of them, they started out as a teacher, because if you're a teacher, you got to be a little bit of a showman, and you can't really be shy, because you have to put on a performance to get the kids interested. So, I think at that time I really wasn't thinking about acting, but I always had that in the back of my head. And I was a hyper kid too, so I liked pulling practical jokes and being funny and things of that nature, giving a good vibe. So really I was surprised that a lot of people would look at my tape, because I figured that I would send it to them and they wouldn't respond or whatnot. But I was really pleased to see that people not only watched it, but they responded favorably to it.
Oh, definitely. And I do think oftentimes, and I don't think people realize this, when I first got into radio, kind of the same thing applies. If you are intriguing and interesting enough, even if you're relatively unknown or unheard of, you can kind of build your own brand, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like you said, you make that tape, you never know what the, end result is going to be. But if you can be intriguing enough or make your subjects intriguing enough, I think that says a whole lot, in terms of getting their attention and keeping their attention. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think that has a lot to do with it.
No doubt about that. I mean, like I said, I started out and doing it for fun, because that's something I like to do. So to me, it wasn't really doing work, or I wasn't trying to impress anybody, or I wasn't trying to make this certain tape to focus on a certain audience or something like that. I just thought it would be good. And, if it wasn't good, if people didn't like it, then I had other ideas. I just try again.
Sure.
I think the most important thing, in anything you want to do in life is, you can't be afraid to fail. Because, many, and the also thing that was very helpful is when I researched, some of these actors and authors that really made it big, you figure that, they were chosen to do this, and this has been their destiny since they were born or whatnot. And then you realize that a lot of these people that are up at the top, they've failed miserably at stuff for whatever reason, many times. They got turned down many times. So, I mean, anybody, listening out there that wants to do something, don't think that you don't have, the proper tools or whatnot to do it, because I mean, it's going to take a lot of time if you're willing to put the work in. But if it's something you love, whatever you love, you should really go for it. I know it's like a cliche, but I mean, it's really truthful.
No, and I agree with you 150%. I think most people and can be very naive when it comes to I have to have this education, I have to have this background. We live in a world, technologically speaking, where you could do just about anything. You could do a web series, you could do a YouTube, you could do what I'm doing, the podcast, because I interview people from all over the world and having, an international following. So, the possibilities are endless, and I think that has, more and more people come out and say, hey, you don't need to be this or need to be this. Like, for instance, now I see that you attended Keene University. Now, did you end up getting an actual degree for teaching, et cetera?
Yeah.
Or did you? Okay, you did.
Well, I didn't get the teaching degree because I just went for straight BA in mathematical science, but then I went alternate route. I don't know if they still call it that now, where you take like a test, and then you become a teacher if you pass that test. So you actually have to take, I think, a little more in the mathematical side. So like I said, I'm good with Calculus 4. I could still rock that out a little bit.
Oh, cool. That's absolutely awesome. Yeah, because I'm a writer, too, obviously, and I'm here to tell you I absolutely suck at mathematics. I'm going to tell you right now, that's not my strong suit whatsoever. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm like, I totally suck at this, which is fine, because when you write, typically you don't have to deal with the math component, but I'm like, okay, whatever.
I'm like that with history, world civilization.
Are you really? See, and history for some people, they're all like, oh, my God, isn't this fascinating? And I'm like, oh, my God, I want to go to sleep right now. Because obviously, I think a lot of us writers and that's kind of my next question to you is, we're a little out there. I mean, I think it really takes a very vivid imagination and a sense of chaos in some regards. And as I've talked to some of the people I've been on my show, backgrounds that are a little colorful. You know what I mean? I think most of the artists, musicians, people I know, we're not normal people. I don't know how else to say it, but, would you consider yourself like that?
Yeah, because that's a great point, because I think one of the gifts I have is that I do have a great, imagination, which usually, I have a little bit OCD too.
Sure.
And usually that accompanies that as well. But yeah, I think most, if not all, artists or actors or musicians, do have a great imagination because, you have to sort of, I don't even know if they use this saying anymore, but think outside the box. I used to be a salesman, too. That's what my boss would always tell me. He would say, you got to think outside the box, think outside the box. So yeah, I totally agree. Imagination is key, and, that does separate you because you're not following the same, pattern as everybody else. You want to branch out and you want to do something that's a little bit different to make it more memorable and to make it better.
Correct. I agree completely. Now, one thing that you guys might not know about Stephen that I know, which is, man, you're vocal. I would have never expected that. I mean, I watched the one video that we're going to talk about, but I've seen you sing before. For instance, he has sung Frank Sinatra to my new fan on Twitter, Nancy Sinatra. And I'm like, oh, my God, he does not know the craziness sentences because I am all about Frank Sinatra. So I'm like, what the heck made you do a YouTube video where you're singing Sinatra to Nancy Sinatra? I'm like, what's that all about?
Well, I didn't actually. She wasn't in the room. I just dedicated to her. But she does follow me on Twitter, so I did send her the YouTube link. I don't know. I think it was. My favorite musician is John Lennon, but Sinatra is definitely up there. Nice. And I think at one point I was watching on the public the PBS stations. They had a lot of Frank Sinatra concerts on it at one point, and I was just watching them for like 2 or 3 weeks. And the thing I like about Sinatra too is he's like a showman, but he doesn't like try too hard. He's just natural and things of that nature. Right. So I was watching that for a while, and the place I was working at it was a friend of mine, and I mentioned to her, I was like, I want to sing Sinatra and do some of the songs, and she was like, yeah, sure. I'll tape it for you. And also I like it because I know a lot of the words to the song because I've heard them so many times, so I didn't have to go back and study and wonder if I'm not going to get it right or whatnot. I could do it pretty well.
Cool. And you did do it pretty well, actually.
Oh, I appreciate it. I don't think I'm ready to be an impersonator, but I do like to sing.
I'm not sure you want to go there. Yeah, and you do. No, I mean, actually, the other videos I listen to, I'm like, he's very vocal. So it begs me to ask the question now: would you ever consider doing that as like a sidekick? You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm going to be out and about. I'll do a little stand-up comedic stuff one night, and then one night I'll do some singing at a joint someplace. Or do you entertain those ideas, or are you doing those now? Because that seems logical to me.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely consider that. Honestly, though, one of the things that I would want to do was to be in a horror movie where I'm like play like a crazy person, and I'm like stuck in an asylum or I'm stuck in a prison or something like that, and then I just like walk around the place acting nuts and just singing songs. Like crazy songs and stuff like that, because I always like those guys when I watch horror movies. And then everybody comes in there to try to examine them, and they get really like weirded out with this guy. Right. Like why is he singing this and something like that. So yeah, maybe something like that.
Yeah, and like I said, see, folks, this is why I said we're all a little off kilter, because it doesn't sound too normal that this guy wants to be in some horror movie where we're scaring the hell out of people. That's one thing I did notice about you. You have this, I don't want to call it a fascination, but it seems as though your fanfare is the horror genre, meaning a lot of the stuff that you've been following, watching, promoting, etc. So I didn't know if you had a link to the horror genre, friends in the business, etc.
Well, actually, I'm going to be in a horror movie that's going to be filmed probably in a year or so called October 30th. I'm going to have a voice role in the film. But, as a fan, I just, I'd say for like the past 10 years, I guess, I just started really getting into the new horror movies. And I just, loved them, loved the special effects and loved the acting. And when I was growing up, I used to watch all the time. I liked the shows like Tales from the Dark Side and Monsters. That's when I was growing up. They came out, and then before that, I'm a big fan of the Twilight Zone. So I really always had a love for the sci-fi and things of that nature.
And that's interesting you said that. Did you see that post recently? And maybe I misconstrued it, but I don't think so. Looks like they're redoing or remaking Tales from the Crypt, or it's coming back on or something like that.
Oh, really? No, I didn't see that.
And this was recent. Yeah, there was something on the internet someplace, and forgive me because I can't remember where it was, but they said that they were going to do it again, and I thought that's absolutely awesome because even my kids, because I don't know about you, I'm curious on your take because you like it so much. There is, okay, the best way for me to put this is this. I'm old school, so like for instance, Halloween scares the hell out of me, so I refuse to watch it by myself. Why? Because it's just freaky. You know what I mean? Nowadays it seems as though, and maybe it's me, we're transitioning to a more graphic, horrific sort of genre of horror. Does that make sense? And in some ways it makes me uncomfortable. Do you know what I mean? But again, I'm curious of your take on that.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that. I mean, a lot of these horror movies, but it's also with the technology that we have now. I mean, when they made the horror movies like back in the 40s and 50s, they didn't have the opportunity to do all these things. But yeah, I watched a couple horror movies, and a lot of them are like the end of the world's going to happen, and people have to save it with their intelligence and whatnot. And you watch this stuff, and I was watching one the other day, and it was like Mercury was coming towards Earth and it had a magnetic pull. And what was really fascinating to me, what I really remembered was that the magnetic pull was so big that the cars were actually lifting up into the air like they were bubbles, like somebody was blowing bubbles. And I remember that because I had never seen that in a movie, in a horror movie before. So something like that will stay with me, for a long time.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that was really, really funny.
Well, now too, of course, we live in the advent of indie films. So, of course, now you have independent filmmakers that are making horror movies, and they're really kind of going outside the box. I mean, I've critiqued a bunch of different ones that I've liked, and I like the new independent stuff that's coming out. So, again, natural question to me, when's Stephen going to make a horror movie of his own? Because I could see that coming.
Oh, you know what? Everybody tells me that. They always think I'm a director, and I say, you're not the first person, and right now I like to be in front of the camera. It's like when I played softball, I like to play the game. I don't like to organize the game.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I just don't think I have. You have to go to school or something for that. That's really, you got to know what you're doing.
You'd be surprised. Kind of, sort of. I mean, I'm going to be doing a few,
Maybe once I get into the business for a while, but I mean, anybody listening out there, I would love to be in your movie. So please put me in the camera. I'm definitely not camera shy. That is one thing about me. I'm not camera shy.
See, so okay, good. So now I have an opportunity for you, but let's just see. Because now, are you in L.A. directly in L.A.? Is that correct?
No, I'm in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania right now, and it's really bad weather out here too. So yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, got it. So you're
but
not
I would
that.
hope to maybe be there. Another area of the country that interests me, that I know a lot of people in the film industry, and I've seen some of their films, is Texas, which would be a natural fit for me. I'm a huge Dallas Cowboy fan too.
Correct.
But
gotcha.
Yeah, I could probably see myself ending up in one of those two in the future if somebody will have me. If somebody wants to send me a letter.
Sure. Well, and now I have to redo my way of thinking because I'm going to be a panelist at the Horror Film Festival in San Diego at the end of next month.
Ooh,
and so that would have been a perfect
city.
Opportunity for you to network with people and all that stuff. So what I'll do is, are you close enough to New York City or does it have to be PA? Because I do a lot of indie film stuff in New York.
Well, I've been to New York. I'm probably about an hour and a half from New York.
Oh, that's not too bad. Okay, well, I will hit you up the next time then that I get passes and such. Then you can go network with all of your future directors, et cetera. We'll get you a job in horror, and then before you know it, you're going to be like, I went on that show, and that convinced me I should make a film, and now here I am. See? This is how it all starts. One little advent, definitely.
Yeah, you never know.
Since you brought it up, obviously, of course, October 30th is the movie you were talking about. Now, I know it's penciled to come out in 2018, and it's a voice role. So I'm curious how many voice roles you've done in the past, because it seems to me you have the voice for radio/movie/whatever. Is this your first attempt, or have you done this before?
Oh, I appreciate it. No, this is going to be my first one. I'm a rookie. So I'm excited. I'm excited, like, the experience, like to be on the set, like even if I wasn't in a film, if somebody invited me to come by just to like entertain people in the crowd, just to be a part of that, because when I watch movies, some of my favorite movies, I always wondered, like, what was it really like there on the set, like what did they really do after they did the scene that I remember for the rest of my life. So yeah, I'm really excited for the opportunity to be a part of that and to be where the action's happening.
Oh, sure. And now for those that are listening in, for instance, I should say, that might be interested in looking into doing voiceovers and things like that, why don't you talk a little bit about, did you do any kind of training? Was there any preparation? What does it take to be an effective voice actor?
I never had really any formal training. When I got out here to Pennsylvania, I met a couple actors, and one of them took me to like an acting class thing. But when I was young, that's what everybody always said to me. They always said, you're pretty funny, you're a little hyper, and you have a good voice. And actually, when I was like in my teens, I really didn't like to hear my voice. I don't know why. I think I hear a lot of these like singers and stuff like that. They say they don't like to listen to themselves or whatnot, and I don't know why. But yeah, I didn't really think I had a great voice. But what was a really funny thing was I remember when I was a senior in high school, and I was a sports guy. I mean, I wasn't a great player, but I was a decent player. So I played baseball and basketball. And my homeroom teacher was the chorus teacher. And I remember one time she said to me, she said, "Hey, you want to, join the chorus?" And back then I thought, that's, I'm like a big sports guy. I don't,
right.
want to join the chorus and whatnot. So I turned her down. But I guess I kind of wish I would have took her up on that because I do like to sing. In my 20s I used to do a lot of karaoke. Used to sing a lot of karaoke, and then one or two country bands. I actually taught this one guy when I was teaching adult school, and he was in a country band. I taught him math. He was in my class, and he asked if I wanted to hear them sing. So I went up, and then he says, "Do you want to come up and sing with us?" And that was like probably the first time I sang in front of a live audience, and the people liked me. I like country music, so I sang Merle Haggard's "Big City" song.
Oh yeah,
that's kind of an oldie. It came out in 1980, but I picked that one too because I knew all the words to that one, so I wouldn't get tripped up. And people were clapping. It was a small little bar. I mean, it wasn't like I was in Madison Square Garden singing, but yeah, people like me. So it's just a confidence thing. I mean, people that cheer for you, it really does make a difference when performers say, thank you for the applause. They really are thanking you for that. Or when somebody in the industry mentions you, in an interview, that really boosts confidence to somebody who's starting out that, maybe I do have something. Because when you're first starting out, I mean, you're not going to get you're not going to see a lot of results on paper, so you really have to stick with it, and you really have to be in that for the long haul. And people like that who give you good confidence, that's been industry, that really does help. That means a lot.
Correct. Oh, I would agree with you 150%. Now, on the flip side of the fence, when you first started talking, you had done the book, My 100 Reasons to Love the Dallas Cowboys and 10 Reasons to Despise the Philadelphia Eagles and Their Fans. Wow.
Yeah, and I live in Lehigh Valley too, so.
All right, so first of all, I got to talk about this whole Dallas thing because I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's all over this Dallas Cowboy thing. So you know that means you're originally from Dallas, or that means
no, I'm from
experience?
Jersey.
I knew I liked you for a reason.
Central Jersey.
So, what up with this whole Dallas rules the world sort of thing? I mean, you were all over those Cowboys like right on rice. What's up with that?
Oh, I'm a huge Cowboy fan. I've been a Cowboy fan since probably '81. Probably my first memory was not a really good one when they lost the NFC Championship game to the 49ers when Montana threw it to Clark, the catch thing.
Okay.
So I became a Cowboy fan, which is funny because I'm also a big Yankee fan, and my first recollection of the Yankees was really not that good because they lost the World Series to the Dodgers in '81.
Right.
So I'm a Yankee fan, but we made up for it, later on down the line. But I've always been a huge Dallas Cowboy fan. I haven't probably missed a game watching in probably 20 years because now you can watch every game on the Sunday Ticket and whatnot. But I get into it too. I mean, the last game we played on Sunday where we almost blew the lead to the Bears, there's like sweat pouring down my forehead when I'm watching these games.
Oh,
I mean, if you're a big fan like me of any team, some of these games are excruciating. But I tell you what, the biggest excruciating time, like I feel my heart racing for like 2 months straight because I'm also a huge hockey fan, and I'm a huge Washington Capital fan. and
Okay.
and we're really good now. Now we're actually, I think, the favorites again to win the Stanley Cup this year, but we never do. But
Okay.
when the hockey playoffs are when it really gets my heart racing, because it's just like nonstop, like it's every other day, and these games are so excruciating, and a lot of them even go into overtime. So you need a break. Like after the playoffs are over, I say, whew, I need to take 2 days off, or I need to
Oh my God, that is
long
insane.
distance walking. Yeah.
That is totally insane. Now, does this explain why you're single? Because I'm thinking, I saw his status as single, and I'm like, he's probably sitting there devoting his whole week to the Dallas Cowboys,
maybe,
and that's why I'm single.
So. Well, I'm not as
intrigued.
handsome. Well, I'm not as handsome as I was, when I was in my 20s.
Beauty's on the inside, not on the outside. I don't know if anybody ever told you that, but still, maybe it's that obsession you carry with this football thing. And clearly, it's more than an obsession. And in some ways, I think us as writers usually take what we hold dear to us and we translate it, obviously, into writing, etc., which, of course, you've now done with this. So explain how this went from an idea in your head, to becoming this masterpiece about why you love the Dallas Cowboys. Talk to us about that process and how this came to light.
Yeah, I read a couple books. I think one of them was similar. Like it was like My 101 Reasons to Love the Yankees and 10 Reasons to Hate the Red Sox. And I was reading this book, and I figured, well, I know a lot about my teams too. So why not try to do this? So again, it was enjoyable to do, because when I was writing these things down, it was reliving all of the good memories that I had. Especially in the 90s when they won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. And at the time I was writing this was probably about like 2004, 2005. So they really weren't that great of a team at that point. They were average team at best. So there really wasn't anything to get excited about with the current team at that time. But when I was writing this, I was excited because it was taking me back to the glory days. And again, it really didn't take too long to write. I had an agent at the time, and they said that somebody's interested, but they don't want it to be a written book. They were wondering if you could make something into an audio book. Now, I had written other books too that haven't gotten published, but I decided to do the Cowboys as the audio book, and I figured that would be a good segue because once the CD came out, I could use that also as an audition tape, for radio or whatnot as well.
Correct.
Which I have sent the tape out to people, and I was really pleased at the cover and the way it came out. I mean, unfortunately, we didn't do a part 2. There was only the part 1, so the book wasn't 100% completed. Yeah.
Okay, I gotcha.
But in the future, I hope to speak about the Cowboys. Like I said, maybe in a radio capacity, or maybe write a different book. Years from now about other areas of the Cowboys and maybe some of my other teams as well.
Correct. Now, my question to you is: has anyone from the organization, do they know of the existence of this, etc.? Meaning the Cowboys.
Yeah, maybe a few old players because they befriended me on Facebook and I sent the link out to them. But yeah, I don't think any of the real current players. Although I did talk to Tony Romo's wife a couple years ago. I sent her a couple articles I wrote. This is before they were married, because she was a very good news reporter, I believe. So before they got married. So I think she knows who I am. I mean, that was a while ago. She probably forgot because she got Tony Romo. So.
Well, of course. And I adore Tony Romo myself. He's just pretty to look at. Thank you very much. Just sad. Which means now we're going to talk about the flip side. What's up with you and this hatred of the Philadelphia Eagles? Ouch, that's rough.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think like right now I don't really have a hatred. It's usually, to me, the hatred usually stems from a specific player on a team rather than like the fan base.
Gotcha.
So I mean, back in the 90s, there was a couple players that I didn't really care for. I remember one player on the Eagles. his name was Andre Waters. He used to call him Andre Dirty Waters because he would, maybe do some late hits or whatnot and stuff like that.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, if you're a Cowboy fan, you have a rival with the Eagles and anybody in the NFC East. And even when I moved up here to Pennsylvania, sometimes I'd be walking, down the street or to the diner or whatnot, and I'd have my I'd wear my Dallas Cowboy hat, and somebody would stop the car in the middle of the street, and they would just start yelling at me. That hasn't happened recently, but when I first started moving here, I don't know what it was. I guess it was because I was wearing a cowboy hat.
Oh my God! Seriously, that is insane.
Well,
they
didn't get out of the car. They just stopped for a minute because it's not a busy street. They mumbled something. They went off. Yeah.
I gotcha. Okay, so now since you're such a diehard football fan, I got to ask this question. Now, I have to tell you I'm on the opposite side, which is, oh my God, you would have to literally bribe me and take me to a bar and fill me with alcohol to make me watch football. I am so an un-football type person.
Oh, wow.
But
wow.
I have a football relative question. The person that I have coming on my show in the future is the gentleman who the movie Concussion was based on, the doctor, Dr. Amalou. And
oh, wow.
I'm going to be
I want to
interviewing
see
him.
that movie.
Okay. Well, then I won't ruin it for you.
I know the movie. I haven't seen it yet, but I want to see it. Yeah.
Got it. So, as a football fan, I wanted to ask this question because I put this up as a poll question on my Facebook page. So, I'm curious to ask diehard fans like yourself, for instance, Dr. Amalou, what he discovered posthumously, and I guess apparently this is the only way you can find this out, is a player has to pass away. He took apart the brain of a few NFL players, and what he discovered was that they had CTE, which is that degenerative disease where basically, it has to do with the brain, and you could only discover it when they passed on. Well, recent statistics, there's two comments he's made. First of all, he said 87 out of 90 players that he's examined have all suffered from CTE, so it's likely that a good portion of players will get this. Second of all, he also claims that there is absolutely no piece of equipment out there that can protect a brain, whether you are under the age of 18, like he advises. If you're under 18, you shouldn't play football because your brain's not developed. Whereas with adults, he's like, no matter what, their brain's mushing around like jellyfish. Why? Because even though they have a helmet on, you know what I mean? You know what I mean, that constant impact over and over again. So I'm just curious to see. I asked football fans this, and they all had a fit, of course. I was like, okay, well, if you listen to this, do you still support the NFL and the games and the players and such, knowing full well that they could very easily die from CTE, develop concussions, or moreover, there's no real protection for them playing this game. So they're, in essence, hurting themselves over and over and over again for your entertainment. So I'm just curious. Well, there's no wrong answer, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, there is that because, I think I heard that Frank Gifford, who was a legendary player and broadcaster, after he passed, they revealed that he had that too. And I know a former Cowboy great of mine, Tony Dorsett, is really not doing that well either. I think it also depends on the position you play as well.
Really?
I mean, if you're say like a running back, I think you would probably suffer more hits than if you were a wide receiver. Because a running back, you're going into the pile, you're lowering your head down there to get some extra yards and whatnot. But, a wide receiver usually uses their speed. And, when they get tackled, they're also probably getting tackled by somebody in the secondary. They're not usually getting tackled by a big, linebacker or whatnot. If you're a quarterback, you're going to get some hits. Although they do have a lot of rules now that prevent the quarterback from getting hit in the head, a helmet-to-helmet contact. So I think, with a quarterback, they're mostly concerned with their knees and their legs, where they have pain if they were hit a lot as well. So I think, it depends on the position you're playing as opposed to, I think, running back would probably be one of the top positions where, that might be the case where you would have a bigger chance. But, a lot of these guys, they know what they're in for. They know, the possibility that it could happen. And I think because of this, you see a lot of players, they're retiring earlier than they normally would because there was a wide receiver called Megatron, Calvin Johnson, who played for the Detroit Lions, and he recently retired, and he had only played in the league, I think, 7 or 8 years, and he might have been the top receiver, and when he retired, he was still at the top of his game, and I believe the reason that he did retire was because, he didn't want to risk injury. So I
Sure.
think, based on these new studies, I think that's what you're going to see now. I don't think you're going to see a lot of guys, like Brett Favre playing all these years, or even Peyton Manning all the years he played. I think the careers are going to be shorter, because of that.
Oh, yes, and I would tend to agree with that as far as that goes. So thank you for that. And I should let you know, you definitely should watch it. I mean, we finally watched it. My kids and I actually watched it because they were all over this because, they were the reason I approached him because they were just so inspired by what the doctor had to say. And even though he's not a real doctor, he's a pathologist, so technically he's a doctor. I mean, it poses a very interesting light, but I will warn you, if you're a fan of the NFL, they allude to some very big allegations against the NFL, which I don't necessarily know that I disagree with. So just to prepare you, if you're like,
okay. Well,
yay,
I plan on watching it.
You may not want to watch
it. No, I'll
okay,
watch
wonderful.
it.
Well, good. Okay, gotcha. So now, tell my listening audience the 3 biggest reasons why they should listen to your audiobook. And go.
Oh, why they should? Okay. Well, it's very informative. It's very funny. I try to, I don't just get on there and recite, every one of my reasons to love the Cowboys, like a robotic stage like I'm doing right now. It's very funny, and the main thing is you'll hear the passion in my voice when I say the facts, and you'll hear the venom in my voice when I talk about the reasons to despise the Philadelphia Eagles and their fans, and also the New York Giants are up there too as well. So
wow. Look
I don't
at
have specific
that.
ones
Impressive.
yet for them, but they're up there too, and maybe even the Redskins too, because they're getting better too.
Oh, right, definitely, without a doubt whatsoever.
Yeah.
So now, let's see, we have actor on your repertoire, we have author on your repertoire. Talk to us a little bit about folks on Facebook, because nowadays we're all big on the whole social media thing. You established a page called Fans of the Mad Hungarian. So obviously, to those that don't know you and first finding out about you, what is that all about? What made you initiate that? I assume it's for people that follow you, et cetera, but what's the main purpose for that page so those that are intrigued can follow along?
Yeah, I just started doing it after a while because I was posting a lot of links on my page and whatnot, and I figured, a lot of people have a page, so why shouldn't I have a page? And what I could do is I could showcase films. I mostly do like films now. I used to do a lot of sports on there, but since I'm transitioning into the actor right now a lot more, and I talk to a lot more actors and actresses than sports people at this point. It's like a review. Like if I see a good movie, I'll post that up there for people to watch.
Right.
Or if somebody has an interview that I know that seems interesting, I'll post that up too. Because I appreciate that too. Like when I'm scrolling through Facebook and somebody says, "Ooh, this is if you like horror movies, watch this," or if you like comedy, watch this.
Right.
And a lot of times when I do put it on, it is pretty good, and I wouldn't have known that if they didn't, post that up themselves. So, that's what I try to do. And, if somebody has something that they would like to promote, I mean, especially a beautiful model, if she would like to post, hey, post away,
Yes, I've noticed that you've had a model or two there on your page, Stephen. I've seen that. And I was like, well, doesn't he know a lot of attractive people? I was like, darn,
Yeah.
There's an awful lot of those on there. Man, you're lucky. You know everybody, don't you? Look at that. And I got to ask this question. Okay, so what's up with the whole Mad Hungarian thing? What is that all about?
Yeah, well, I figured I needed a nickname because I used to get a lot of nicknames, and they weren't really derogatory, but they really didn't fit me. Like I remember when I was playing. I'll give you a quick story. I used to play softball a lot, and the people on the softball team, they used to call me Pants. That was my nickname. And the reason they called me that was because I always I played in sweatpants. I never could play in shorts because you got to slide.
Okay.
So I would have a pair of sweatpants that fit good, but I slid one time, it ripped it open. I had to find a new pair. I had 2 pairs of sweatpants.
Oh my gosh.
One pair was so baggy, and you're playing in 90-degree weather. So I wore that one week. It fit well, but it was so baggy I couldn't wear it again. It was like claustrophobic. But I found a great pair of sweatpants I could slide in, but I couldn't adjust the thing to tighten it up enough to keep it on me, securely. So every time if you watch me in the field, like every third pitch I would always be like, tugging, my sweatpants up so they would stay on, because that'd be pretty embarrassing for them to drop when everybody's playing. So the people in the team, that was my nickname. They called me Pants. And when I was in high school, I guess like the best nickname out of all of them that I got, I was a first baseman and I throw left-handed, so the coach called me Lefty. When they put Lefty at first base. So that was okay, but that was a common one. Like a lot of people are called that. And actually, the Matt Hungarian was not new, because there was a baseball player, Al Hrabosky, and he was called the Matt Hungarian, and he pitched in the 70s and the early 80s. So when I first started watching baseball, I remember him, and I guess he kind of kept a vision in me, and I kind of thought he was cool. So I says, let me go with that. And then I developed another one, which I use sometime. I call myself the Hungarian Dream. And,
and
that actually arrived a little bit. That has like a little bit of a WWE story, because one of my favorite wrestlers who really knew how to talk, and actually he just passed away a couple of years ago, was called Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream.
Oh yeah,
And I like his song, and his Titantron, and I still watch it 10 times a week. So I says, well, this guy's the American Dream. Well, I don't think there's a Hungarian Dream, so I'll call myself that for a while.
Oh my gosh, look at you! How funny is that? That is
I'm
really
sure
cool,
in the
and it was different.
10 years I'll have some more names.
Do you
Hopefully
think
they're
so?
Good.
Well, and you know what I find funny about that is nowadays, even though sometimes you can come up with the weirdest stuff, like you have a real quirky name or whatever have you, people will learn to recognize you by that, and then it almost becomes your signature trademark. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, well
when I saw your page, I'm like, whoa.
Mind.
Did it?
Well,
See?
that thought did cross my mind. Yeah. But I
there you
figured
go, and
too.
It's one of those things.
I figured it. I didn't want it to be too long. It couldn't have been longer than 3 words. I mean, ideally, because I don't like people that have long nicknames either. Because then you forget the whole thing. So I said to myself, it can't be longer than 3 words. I really would want it to be 2 words, but I think 3 words is the max. So that's a tip for anybody out there looking for a nickname. Don't make it longer than 3 words.
Oh my gosh, look at that. So
but if I really get famous, then I might become 1 word, like Madonna or Ichiro.
Cher,
yeah.
There you go, something like that.
Yeah, that's how you know you made it. If your nickname's 1 word.
That's exactly right. Now, if you were to be given this opportunity where Vince McMahon called you tomorrow and he's like, Steve, we want you to join the WWE. And he said you could pick your own wrestler name. So I was curious. I was like, I got to ask this guy this. He's probably thought about it 100 times. What would your wrestler name be?
No, I haven't really. You just put me on the spot. A wrestler name?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No. You know what? I would probably be in such awe. First of all, if he called, I wouldn't even believe him. I would say this isn't Vince McMahon. And I might even hang up on him because I wouldn't believe him. I think my friends pull a joke. But let's assume that it was. Let's assume it was him, and it was verified that it was him. Yeah, I don't know. Sure. I think he probably would have a better idea of a name than I would, because he'd been doing it for so long. Yeah, I'd probably let him do it. I think he would come up with a good one.
No, I don't disagree with you there, definitely.
I would trust him with that, yeah.
So we have 2 business things to clear up here before you can get on with your weekend. I'm going to read off these pages. Just remind me if I've forgotten anything. He is on Facebook. He has both a personal page, and as I mentioned, Fans of the Mad Hungarian is also on Facebook. On Twitter, which his handle is at NAGYSNEST. He can also be found on YouTube, CD Baby, IMDb, Stage32.com, and Amazon.com. Did I forget anything?
I'm also on LinkedIn, but with LinkedIn, I don't go on there that much. I go on probably 3 times a year. So I would say probably the main one, if you want to yell at me or you want to compliment me or if you want to give me a job, just probably Facebook and Twitter, because I'm always on that. I'm on that 6-7 days a week, 8 days a week.
I gotcha. I got it. Or, of course, if you're Vince McMahon and, you want to get a hold of Stephen, because not that you want to talk to him already.
I'll run up there
like, way cool.
if he's really calling, yeah. He's in Connecticut.
Yes,
they got the building in Connecticut.
I know.
That's
and
not that far.
I did approach Stephanie McMahon about an interview once, but I didn't hear anything back. And then I approached, I'm a Triple H fan, truth be told. Yes, that's right. I'm a Triple H fan to this day. Triple H and The Undertaker. But my admiration stems a little differently than yours does, obviously. Yeah, he's just a pretty boy. So I met Shawn Michaels once. He was really super nice. Most of them are actually really, really nice. And to be truthful with you, I kind of miss CM Punk a little bit. I like CM Punk's attitude. And his mindset. I ain't gonna lie.
I like the Titantron, the song too, but that's I think it's a Lenny Kravitz song, yeah.
Right.
But I do miss him. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, before I forget, now if people want to get onto the fans of the Mad Hungarian, do they have to just request you and you approve everybody, or how does that work? In case people want to get involved.
Yeah, I believe that's how it works. Because once in a while I'll get somebody. It says member request, and then I got the choice. Okay. I could hit the check mark or I could hit the X. I usually hit the check mark.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, because I'm involved in that group, folks, so that you get to meet not only a bunch of interesting people, but you get to hang with Stephen and I, which is awesome. So, yes. So I am so glad that you took this hour out of your time. I'm going to stay in touch with you because I'm in Indie Fests all the time. I get passes all the time.
Cool.
I get introduced you to people to get into horror all the time. So we definitely need to stay connected because I am certain, with any luck at all, I will be able to encourage you to make a horror movie, even if it's just for me. Thank you very much. But I'd like to see you direct or do a little something. I think it would be really cool. You have a great personality for that. And I do, now that I have talked to you, I think I'm going to throw some feelers out there because I do believe that you would truly, not only do you have the voice, but you have the charisma and you have the knowledge as it relates to sports radio. So I have the ability to
I agree with
feel
you.
around.
I think I could do that.
Definitely.
Like directing a movie, I don't know about that, but the other three things,
you never know.
I agree 100%.
That's exactly right. So we'll throw some feeler out there. I know everybody in radio, so I'm sure that hopefully we'll at least be able to get you some leads to where this way you can go in a direction where you can do what you want to do, which would be awesome. Definitely.
Oh, I appreciate it, Cindy.
Thank you, my dear. Anytime at all.
And remember,
Thanks for coming to visit my show.
And remember, when you follow at Nagy's Nest, it's the only nest in the world where a Philadelphia Eagle is not allowed to land in.
Oh, my God. Listen to this, Jazz. Oh, great.
That's usually my big top, right? You usually get the laugh for that.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Nagy, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Now get the hell off my show. No, it's been wonderful. Right. And I will. I'll be in touch soon, definitely. And thank you, my dear. Have a wonderful weekend.
Oh, you too. Thank you for having me.
All right, honey. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Stephen Nagy, and wasn't he absolutely fascinating? I love having people like that on my show because he is very over the top. He's got a great personality, good sense of humor, and overall just good general sport. One more time, Stephen Nagy can be found at his personal page, and it's spelled Stephen, and then Nagy is Nagy. His fan page is called Fans of the Mad Hungarian. He is on IMDb, Stage32.com, Amazon.com, LinkedIn, YouTube, and CD Baby. And again, the Twitter handle is at Nagy, and that's Nagys, Nest, N-E-S-T. And, of course, the name of the book, again, is My 101 Reasons to Love the Dallas Cowboys and 10 Reasons to Despise the Philadelphia Eagles and Their Fans. Wow. I can barely say that entire thing 150% of the time here. Well, it is Friday afternoon. So, yeah. So you can check that out. And, again, that's an audiobook version. So keep that in mind, folks. So big thanks to Mr. Nagy for coming on the show today. Obviously, to all my listening audience. Before I forget, it's out of the norm, but yes, I'm actually going to be on the radio tomorrow, 10 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. Vanessa Weiss will be joining the show. She is a New Yorker. She's a friend of mine. She has been an entertainer. She's worked at Webster Hall with my dear Gerard McNamee. And now she is looking at the possibility of doing transgender surgery, and she needs our help. She is working on a GoFundMe campaign, and I, as her friend and supporter, am going to do just that, which is support and educate the community about transgenders as well as what we can do to assist her. So, 10 o'clock Central Standard Time tomorrow. Vanessa Weiss will be on the show. I hope that all of you are able to tune in. If not, have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week.
What you doing?
Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. By singing dog. By goal.
I pronounce you.
Bye, wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really?
Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.
What you doing?
Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. By singing dog. Bye, goal.
I pronounce you.
Bye, wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really?
Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.